for the Morning Watch.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org and if you're overseas and on the move. U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, PAJ condemns attacks from JLP and PNP. In the second watch, no history, no RE, no social studies at teachers' colleges. How comes? And what's next? For our social media question, we ask, without calling any names, do you find media houses to be partial to one political party over the other? We're asking you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I Quote.
All right, good morning, good morning. Today's I Quote says, "So far as I can remember, there is not one word in the Gospels in praise of intelligence." Again, it says, "So far as I can remember, there is not one word in the Gospels in praise of intelligence." This one is from Bertrand Russell.
Okay, good morning, Jukal.
Good morning, good
How
morning.
are you doing?
I'm good.
Heard you preaching earlier this morning. Faith without works is dead.
Preaching, that's your thing.
Yeah, well, you're doing it.
No, I think.
I heard you preaching, man. But the altar call, you haven't given us yet, Jukal. Waiting on that.
See, you know, problem.
The first such we're back after this break.
It's a great way to get flow prepaid mobile plans. You know the plans that give you real unlimited social media, YouTube, anywhere across the handy to TikTok, and for a limited time only, get a 20 day plan for only $2,900 when you activate through the app. That's not $500 saving.
Easy, convenient way to save on your full 28-day prepaid mobile plan with unlimited social and anywhere calls is to download the Pump and Flow app or visit pumpandflow.com.
Download today and start saving.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
On the next Campus Connection, we will be looking at the economics of education. Part 2, the economics of education is a study of economic issues related to education, including the demand for education, the financing and provision of education, and the comparative efficiency of various educational programs and policies. What's the relationship between schooling and labor market outcomes for individuals? Lots of big words, but don't worry, we got you. Dr. Mark Smith, president of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, and Dr. Davis Gaze, international education advisor and former Ontario Education Commissioner, will speak on these issues Tuesday, October 15 at 5:30 p.m. on the family station, Love 101. Campus Connection is brought to you by Heart NSTA Trust. Skill is power. That's Campus Connection, Tuesday, October 15 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, in a recent release to the public, the Press Association of Jamaica expressed serious concerns regarding claims made by some supporters of the two major political parties against journalists and the media houses, which it indicates could have deeper implications for the profession and for those who work as media practitioners. So, what really are the underlying issues and implications of the alleged practices and the condemnation from the PAJ? Well, to answer these and other related questions, we have joining us so far Joseph Patterson, president of the UIC, and we're hoping to be joined by Byron Buckley as well. But we have so far Joseph Patterson. Good morning to you, Mr. Patterson. Good morning. You're muted, Mr. Patterson. Muted, perhaps.
Okay,
We're not hearing you.
I'm so sorry. Good morning, Reverend Toussaint. Thank you for having me this morning, sir.
Great. Good to have you with us. All right. What are your opening thoughts, Mr. Patterson, on the recent condemnation by the PAJ?
Well, first of all, let me say thanks to Love 101 FM for having me on. I can begin by saying press freedom is a prerequisite for a truly free and fair society. I'm sure you'd agree. A truly free press would demonstrate, I would say, 5 key characteristics. One of them is to be very accurate, being factual and complete in its reporting. Another one would be having independence, not representing any group or anyone or any side. Being impartial, reporting all sides of a story, not just one or two. Being responsible, careful, and humane in how we present information to the public. Try not to do any harm. And 5, be accountable, correct any errors or mistakes that are made and do so in a timely manner. Now, what Jamaica has experienced over the last several years is a gradual slippage in the way we approach journalism. And because of that, the journalistic fraternity opens itself up to the kind of critique which it's now facing. I want to particularly thank Love FM, however, for including the UIC in your reporting at times. This makes you more accurate, more independent, more impartial, more responsible and accountable than most mainstream media channels. Clearly, your faith and journalistic ethics makes you more factually complete and truly objective and non-partisan. But I can't say that for the most of the other stations that I see. There tends to be, partisan nature in the way that they report, and in some cases even bipartisan, meaning focusing only on 2 of the registered political parties.
Yes. So the story behind and the reason behind the condemnation, are you saying that it is justified?
Well, the truth of the matter is in every liberal democracy, you'll always have the media coming under attack from the parties in question. The real issue is how the media conducts itself so that the society may have confidence in them. There's, however, no doubt, to me at least, that the people of Jamaica see our society as being generally corrupt, and that includes mainstream media. To combat this perception, the PAJ must demonstrate journalistic integrity by holding its members to the highest standards of reporting. I was just reading the comments on the newspaper article in reference here, and I noticed a number of persons pointing out that the PAJ kind of jump only after one side said something, as opposed to jumping as soon as you had this kind of rhetoric coming forward.
Mhm.
Now, to me, a great way for the PAJ to begin to show its journalistic integrity would be to simply ensure, for example, that the views of the UIC are equally reflected in the daily news cycle. You don't see that. The Jamaican people are fed daily to the perception that there are only two registered political parties in Jamaica when there are more than two. So, they consistently ignore our statements or press releases. And unlike Love 101 FM, they fail to inquire as to our position on various issues. So hats off to you for doing that this morning.
Yes. So if I'm hearing you clearly, Joseph Patterson, you are concerned with the PAJ itself in their modus operandi over the years in terms of their reporting, giving a balanced report.
Absolutely. The news media generally in Jamaica, which of course, the PAJ has a key role to play as the association around all of this. They seem only interested in reporting on sometimes when they hear it, the perceived negative of the UIC and never are positive, such as, for example, the UIC has put forward very strong views on constitutional reform. You hear none of this in the public discourse. So while we're talking about this very, very important issue, we have put positive arguments about a true republic instead of the fake one which is being proposed. And you hear nothing of this in the media. We see them going to defunct and unregistered political parties. Recently, I saw a news article in the Observer where a non-registered group that claims to be a political party is putting forward arguments that are copied from the UIC. And instead of they know the UIC, so they should, and they know what we stand for, but they don't report and say, hey, look, but this is what the UIC is saying. Are you agreeing with them? So there's something wrong. And while the focus I know right now is between the two major political party, as you call them, it's deeper than that. And I think what we see oftentimes in the partisan nature of Jamaica is the kettle calling the pot black and all that kind of thing. But we need to address this. I think maybe it's because we have the UIC that is, as accurately pointed out, that the same PSOJ oligarchs who control the two colonial parties also have a major stake and control over mainstream media. And so you end up with a very biased kind of reporting, lopsided even towards two parties versus the exclusion of another. So
But let's assume, Joseph Patterson, that the reports of attacks on journalists and media houses are accurate. From your perspective, how dangerous and damaging can these attacks be?
So, well, I mean, if obviously, if you have the political parties identifying different stations, for example, and saying, or different media outlets, that they are, favoring one party or the other. Jamaica is not unknown for its political violence. And we have seen in the recent past where some places have been even shut up, right, because of utterances on the political platform. So you don't want political parties attacking the media. That's not something we want, and we should avoid that. However, we also have to pay attention to whether or not the media opens itself up to this. I am sure that you have seen, or not, maybe not you, but others have seen, where different media houses tend to show levels of favoritism in the way that they report on things. So we, from the UIC perspective, we all know that in addition to who owns the media, who pays the big advertising dollars also influence what, when, who, and how media reports come out to us. But that needs to be tempered. We understand the market forces and the pushes and the pull, but the PAJ, and I said this earlier, the PAJ has a responsibility to call these things out before it gets to the stage, and they have failed to do that. I'll give you an example of something the PAJ could have quickly picked up on and addressed.
Okay. Tell you what, Joseph Patterson, we are up on a break right now, so let's pause a little bit. We'll be right back.
No problem.
I love doing my own thing. So to have to live by my landlady rules, kind of rough. I can only park near the front gate to the right of the mango tree, but not on the lawn. Well, I fulfill two dreams with one Jane Bank savings plan. I buy my dream home and I live by my own rules.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Shop and win a mega kitchen from Megamart. Spend $6,000 or more before GCP at any Megamart location and fill out the entry form provided for a chance to win a brand new stove, fridge, and microwave this Christmas from Appliance Traders Limited. Visit us on social media to win monthly prizes, courtesy of Last Grace Foods and Basic Commodity Company Limited. Promotion runs from September 30 to December 6th. Shop now to win a mega kitchen from Megamart. Value by far. Conditions apply. Must be 18 years or older to enter. Authorized under Section 58 of the Betting Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And this is the first watch. We are looking at the matter of PAJ condemning attacks from the JLP and the PNP. In so doing, we have online Joseph Patterson, president of the UIC. We are still trying to connect with Byron Buckley. All right, Mr. Patterson, before the break, you were telling us about your views and you're about to tell us about an incident. Go ahead.
I was going to give you an example. Recently, we had a by-election in Northeast Stenton, and the reports were being given out as to how things went. The Observer newspaper, skillfully, in my opinion, hid the identity of the UIC, for example, using graphics by simply putting, we all know the UIC's color is blue, right? We know that the other party that ran was green and there was an independent. Why would the Observer be so careful to ensure that the yellow was used for the UIC's highlight and the wording in white? So when you look on the screen, you can't see UIC. Now, these are very subtle things, and it has been done to the UIC in so many different ways. Now, the PAJ should be very adamant about saying, let's ensure the Jamaican people know and hear that there is another registered political party that is to be treated equally. Now, similarly, during the recent pandemic, you might recall, the UIC, the news media kept saying anti-vax, anti-vax, instead of focusing on the fact that we were not anti-vax, but pro-freedom of speech and pro-freedom of movement, and pro-freedom of association and pro-freedom of choice. That was our message. But for some reason, everywhere you went, the idea was to attach to the UIC anti-vax. So the PAJ has to step up, man, and not wait for these critical moments to come when they can rein in their members and say, come on, let's make sure we have truly accurate, independent, impartial reporting being done. We also know
Yeah, we're getting that. But is there another place for condemnation, for want of a better word, for these attacks coming from the so-called two major political parties?
There is a place for condemnation where condemnation is deserved. Now, Joseph Patterson. Well, let's say, is it a fact that there are partisan political stations that are pretending to be independent? Now, what the PAJ should want to do is to investigate that and come to the public and say, we have found, after careful investigation, that there's no such thing. I would be hard pressed for them to find those results. There's little doubt in the minds of many that various media houses are playing politics instead of being authentic journalists. I agree that some favor one or the other of the two colonial parties, and this is what the PAJ needs to address. What I'd like to see in Jamaica, I believe the nation is badly in need of the kind of unbiased, credible, and substantive investigative journalism that we see being done by Zara Burton at 18 Degrees North. If we had more of that coming from all of our media houses that demonstrated no fear or favor, whether it is green, orange, or blue, you are digging in just as deeply and you're calling out just as clearly anything that needs to be addressed. We should not have media houses showing clear bias towards one or the other of the three registered parties here in Jamaica. The UIC and the other two must be given fair treatment at all times by all media houses.
When push comes to shove, Joseph Patterson, is it not a matter of free speech vis-a-vis freedom of the press? And where do we draw the line?
Beautiful question. Let's think about that carefully. There is free speech, which is the freedom to communicate one's thoughts and ideas, of course, in a responsible way, right? You need to have responsibility countering that freedom. But when it comes on to the press, there's an even higher standard. The press has to demonstrate that it fully understands. The layman might not even fully understand some of the issues, but the press has to make sure it maintains its integrity by demonstrating a full understanding and appreciation of being accurate, factual, and complete in its reporting, being independent, showing clearly that they're not echoing anybody else, or they're not being a propaganda machine, or they're not siding with any group, being very impartial, reporting all sides, not just one or two, as they've been doing. They've been consistently reporting one or two sides and not reporting the UIC side. There's a third side to the question in Jamaica right now, and they're not reporting. They need to also be responsible. For example, if you get some information from credible sources about, let's say, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, don't just run with the information blindly. You need to also be careful that you're not unduly doing harm to somebody else's character or their reputation without making sure you do your counterbalancing. For example, I believe in the recent issue with the Prime Minister, we should have been questioning significantly the Integrity Commission as well as to the approach that they have taken. Now, of course, some have done that since, but we've been too free with how we just put out stuff and leave it for public opinion to decide. We also need to be very accountable, the media that is, by correcting errors quickly and timely. Tell the people what you did wrong and let us know quickly. I saw Diane Jackson Miller did that recently, where she made some statements. It turned out to be incorrect. She didn't waste any time. She immediately went public, corrected herself, and we want to see that. Now, if the PAJ ensures that these 5 core standards of journalism are maintained, you're going to see the people of Jamaica having greater confidence in the media, even if a political party might want to play loose and fast with the rules. So let's say, for example, these two parties were now saying what they're saying, but the people of Jamaica had a tremendous amount of confidence in mainstream media, then it would be null and void.
Yeah. There are those who may argue, though, Joseph Patterson, that all of this is just par for the course, especially within the context of an imminent election. That all we're seeing now amounts to the cut and thrust of electioneering. And you're going to find bars being thrown from different angles. And some people might get hurt in the process, verbally at least. What's your take on that?
Well, I can say for certain that the system of politics in Jamaica allows for a lot of distraction, and this obviously is one of them. But to your earlier point, it's a very serious distraction because it can have serious consequences. People's lives may be put at risk. And so not only does the political parties themselves need to be more responsible, again, the PAJ needs to be more proactive. It needs to ensure that it is acting in a way that brings all of its members into line with journalistic integrity and ethics.
What does an organization like the PAJ do if persons are singling out things? I mean, earlier we heard you mention about the color of the print and all of that. When some people say that your organization is being overly sensitive?
Well, absolutely not. If you look at the facts, I mean, if let's say your preferred party was shown up on the screen on television, during a campaign, and for some reason your identity was obscured, your party, you'd be very incensed by that, and any sensible person would be. So for the Observer to do what it did, it's very irresponsible. And the PAJ, for example, being the watchdog over the process, if you will, they should be calling these out. And there are many other instances. The bottom line is this, Reverend. We need not be just jumping at a knee-jerk reaction. We need to step back and look at the big picture. And the big picture is this. The PAJ has abdicated its responsibility and is now running behind the horse after it has flown through the gate. The bottom line is this kind of partisan reporting or bipartisan reporting at times has been going on for years. Right now, during the fever of a potential election, you're going to see more of it. But if we lift the confidence that the people have in our journalistic institutions, then you're going to see that those statements and utterances will fall flat if they're not true. But I believe many Jamaicans believe that our media houses are partisan. And in my case, the UIC case, we know that they're bipartisan. They are always omitting to say to the Jamaican people, here is the UIC's view on the matter. We send them press releases, they don't respond. They don't respond to find out our view. I'm so impressed with the Love 101 because you have oftentimes called upon us. What is your view on this? Why is it so hard for the other media houses to do the same? Why don't they want to hear our views on crime, our views on education, our views on the healthcare system, our views on the economy, our views on the current Prime Minister problem with his declarations? Why don't they call us? And why don't they read our press releases? Why don't they respond and say, listen, here's what we're hearing from Party X, here's what we're hearing from Party Y, and here's what we're hearing from the UIC. They've systematically omitted that, and the PAJ allows this.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the fact that you appreciate the efforts of Love FM in that regard. Going forward, Joseph Patterson, what do we do as a nation? Because we have the press on one side, we have the politicians and political parties on the other. What should the people of Jamaica do to ensure that we have a balanced reporting, generally speaking?
That's a very good question. What I've noticed about the Jamaican people is that more and more they're disengaging from mainstream media. They're disengaging from the political process because they're not inspired. And the reason they're not inspired is that those who control the media and those who control the money in Jamaica have kept the UIC away from the people so they don't have an alternate vision. As long as we don't give the people access to all registered political parties, they're going to become less and less inclined to participate in either the political process or listen to mainstream media. They're going to go to other platforms, which may even give them misinformation. So we have to be careful that the media understands its role and win back the confidence of the people. And that begins with the PAJ.
But the people should do what in this environment? I mean, should they be posting more letters to the editor? I mean, what can be done?
Let's be clear about the people, right? Jamaica fails 70 to 80% of its students every year from high school, meaning most of our graduates don't know how to communicate effectively, how to analyze effectively. So what you're asking the people to do is really what you should be asking leaders to do. So leaders like myself and the leaders of other political parties, we have to engage the public. But we can't engage the public if the media doesn't play an unbiased reporting role. If the media gives the idea that we only have two parties, and then you have a dichotomy now where you're hearing, partisan views based on different media houses, you're reducing the impact of raising the standards of the people's engagement in the process.
You see, based on your argument so far, that's not happening. And what I'm asking in terms of the people, people rising up because they're in the majority. What can and should be done?
Well, whoever it's a catch-22, right? Chicken and egg. Here you have Jamaica having alternatives, but the media make sure the people don't know about the alternatives. So the media is a crucial role. And so I am calling on those who are in a better position than the people to get it done. The PAJ, you guys you see, you know, and Love 101, which is a part of the whole media fraternity, have to continue to champion what you're doing, giving a voice to the voiceless, allowing the the rest of Jamaica to hear from other alternatives so that they can rise up in the process.
Hearing you loud and clear, Joseph Patterson. We're out of time. Thank you so much for an interesting, insightful discussion. Have a safe day.
Take care. All the best.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Time by Jam Bank is
7:30.
Will that be cash or card?
Card.
You have a Visa cash card from Flow too?
Yes, and I can use it anywhere. It's just like Flow paying for my groceries or gas or food or bills.
Sign up for Yard and Road for only $5,300 plus GCT, and you too can get a $15,000 Visa cash card. Get Yard and Road, the plan that pays you back. Conditions apply.
Looking to add a touch of elegance to your room? The Lighting World by Fosrate is having a massive lighting blowout sale. Get your wall lamps, chandeliers, ceiling lamps, fans, and more at amazingly low prices. Sale begins Sunday, September 29, with up to 50% off selected items. It's the Fosrate Lighting Blowout Sale, September 29. Shop and save only at Fosrate. Open Sundays.
Once upon a time, there's a girl named Kay. She loved to dance and play. One day at school, she got very ill, and Mom was left with an unbearable bill. It would be easier if Mom was prepared. With School Companion, 80% of the bill is cleared. Medical care for children is a must. For as low as $2,540 per month, make unbearable medical bills go away. Sign up for Surgical School Companion today. Conditions apply.
Ready to earn more money in sales? The TGL Group presents the Ultimate Sales Blueprint Workshop from concept to close. Join us on October 17th at Exim Bank in Kingston for a power-packed one-day experience led by Dwayne Lufong and Paul Bryan. Don't miss out. Reserve your spot today. Call us at 876-978-1364. Think, Grow, Lead. We help you make more money.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. First of all, in the Gleaner, Chief Justice wants control of court funding. And also in the Gleaner, Deputy Mayor calls out vendors for messy mobe. In the Observer, dangerous e-waste. NSWMA urges responsible disposal of old TV sets, cell phones, computers, microwaves, and other items. Also in the Observer, HIV dismay. Relatives, male partners publicize and weaponize most patients' health status. What? Also in Loop News, investment of over $530 million to upgrade Sarah health facilities. And then finally in Loop News, increased rainfall for Jamaica from Tuesday to Friday, says the Met Office. Those are some of the major stories in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. Without calling any names, do you find media houses to be partial to one political party over the other? We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
I never work with it. As an electrician, protection is always a priority.
If you're a small business or an independent contractor, there's a plan that gives you protection and purpose. Surgical Friendship.
When sleep cycles are difficult to change, it's time for Pampers Easy Up. They're easy to put on and take off, keeping their skin protected.
Some of us measure success by the material things we have. But should we? If what we have is not a measure of our success, why bother to strive to have if having doesn't mean succeeding? How does the Bible rate success? How do we get that kind of success? And what does it really feel like? Tuesday, October 15, on The Rock, join guests Daniel Dodd and Bishop Robert Ellis as they discuss the topic materialism and success. That's The Rock, Tuesday, October 15 at 10 a.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Happy be young man, to be young man. Don't miss the next episode of The Mailbox as we look at Men and Church Growth Part 2. In the biblical sense, growth is not just about increasing numbers, but is rooted in depth of relationship with Christ. Jesus' teachings frequently emphasize the significance of spiritual growth over numeric expansion. You are invited to join the conversation with Pastor Dwight Fletcher of Transformed Life Church as we explore the contribution of men to the growth of church on Wednesday, October 16 at 5:30 p.m. on the family station, Love 101. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Rich Company Limited. That's Wednesday, October 16 at 5:30 p.m. on the family station, Love 101. The Mailbox.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jokal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's question without calling any names. Do you find media houses to be partial to one political party over the other? Jokal?
All right, so we have a response from Cherry in Spanish Town. Cherry sends a response. Cherry says, sometimes it's how the media brings across information, which that will make it seem that way. So journalists have to bear in mind at all times balance and integrity with whatever they bring forth and be accountable as well.
All right. Fair enough, Cherry. Thanks, as usual, for your comments. And so as we go into the second watch, a famous American author has said that a generation which ignores history has no past and no future. And the author of the first American dictionary, Noah Webster, said, education is useless without the Bible. End of quote. Yet we are now hearing that our nation's teachers' colleges are no longer preparing students to teach social studies, history, and religious education. Well, to discuss this matter, we have online Cynthia Cook, past principal of the Camperdown High School, and Dr. Mark Smith, president of the Jamaica Teachers Association. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
Good morning. Dr. Smith with us? Good morning. I'm with you. Good, good. All right. Well, lady and gentlemen, you are both distinguished educators. As far as you are aware, why is it that our teachers' colleges are reportedly not preparing students to teach social studies, history, and religious education. Beginning with you, Cynthia Cook.
Well, I am not okay with what is happening now, but I think that it is necessary for our students to be taught these subjects. And if they're to be taught these subjects, then they need teachers. So a teacher's college that is preparing students for the present set of students in the school should have those subjects as one of their offerings. Because I know that back in the days when I was in the system, we had students who are preparing for the C-sex examination. The basics you must have is English, mathematics, foreign language, a science subject, and one of geography, history, social studies, or religious education. And in order to have those choices, you must have been prepared from the lower grades. So up to that stage, everybody should be exposed to social studies, history, geography, and Bible knowledge. And I mean, when you go to school, it's not just for reading, writing, and arithmetic. Those things will place you in a position, but how you operate in that position, you need all the nutrients that will help you to manage in those positions. And these are the subjects that will allow you to blossom, to use up what you were born with, you know. So I think those subjects are extremely important, including the visual arts and the performing arts and sports and all those things. Those are the things that mold you into a human being.
Yes. Dr. Smith, you are more directly associated with teachers' colleges. Why is it that we're not having these subjects again?
Good morning. Thanks again for having me.
Yes.
One of the greatest challenges I keep on having this conversation is that is where we are in terms of the perception of the profession, and particularly certain subjects more than others. So what Dr. Lars Anderson will tell you is that there's been fewer students interested in picking up these subjects. So then we have to go back in terms of how we perceive the value of the subject, as well as the marketability of it, and generally, and it's an overall view of the item, but really a macro view of it, the teaching profession, unfortunately, for many young people, they don't see it as a viable means of career path or career path for them. And so that's at the macro level, that's a significant problem that we have, where many of our teachers' colleges are actually getting less students applying for the program, right? Not only that, you are not getting the students who necessarily have an interest in something, but some who they not interested in doing anything else. And so their parents probably force them into it. And I know several colleagues who end up in teaching like that, eventually make a wonderful profession, but you really want people who are passionate about teaching and putting into the profession. But a big part of it is that because of the suppressed salaries, you tend to find a remuneration package in general. You tend to find a lot of people are not moving towards teaching, and it's getting worse. Of the people that we do have, a lot of them are opting to leave. You have increasing numbers of people deciding that I want to stay here. But to be honest, it's a global phenomenon we're finding now. Whether we want to agree, teaching is difficult.
So global in terms of these subjects that we are focusing on, social studies, history, and religious education?
Teaching in general, So in the UK, Canada, and the United States, we see a migration of teachers out of the classroom, which is creating that void.
The migration. Okay.
Yeah. We're leaving the classrooms, and that's great. The vacancy for Jamaicans, then we migrate and we leave. And that, of course, great. Now, going back to your original point, it's so important that we understand. We talk a lot about STEM and STEAM, and that's amazing. But guess what? Human beings were so much more complicated. We're so much more diverse in our needs, or intellectual needs, or development as a species, as a civilization, that it's a lot more than just math, English, sciences.
Tell you what,
understand
Dr.
the value of the
Smith.
art.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Smith. We're up on a break. Want to hear more about that STEM situation. We'll be right back.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on Habasco. Get it on Habasco. Everything with the need, Habasco. It's guaranteed on Habasco. Get it on Habasco. It's for your home and don't get it on Habasco. Get it on Habasco.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And in this, the second watch, we are discussing the reality that in our teachers' colleges, we're not having, much teaching on history, religious education, social studies. And in discussing this, we have online Dr. Mark Smith, president of JTA, and Cynthia Cook, past principal of Camperdown High School. I think before the break, Dr. Smith, you were telling us about the focus that has been on STEM, etc.
Yes, indeed. There's something I like to tell my boys that Monroe, and I say, if I train you to be brilliant, with absolute brilliant students, but I negate or fail to develop your spiritual man, I've created nothing but a clever devil. And we have to understand that we have to teach people things like empathy. We have to create a kind of context where a person's what I refer to as your moral compass can be properly calibrated. If we fail to do that, and then subjects like sociology, like social studies, like religious education, create that context of understanding the world, history, understanding our context as a people, our journey as a civilization. And what's happening now is that oftentimes we're seeing through the arts, I should say specifically through Hollywood. Let's once take a Netflix series in which they will replace, I think it was Bridgerton or something with my wife watching once, and they have black people portraying roles that are normally, historically would have been white. Now, I don't have a problem with that because it's a fictional thing. But when children get their history from things like that, the context, they lose a sense of who they are and the struggles that led them to where we are now. And so we have to be very careful. A lot of kids now are getting their understanding of history, of the human journey from TikTok. That's really a bad idea. Yeah, we want to ensure that we can package it in a manner that we are, highlighting some of those important milestones and the journey and the context of them. That's what a teacher brings to it. So I welcome, and I said, let me clear it. And it's a bit funny because I had several people calling me after the story was run in the press. And saying that, boy, Mark, I don't think you're going back to your church this Sunday, because they said something about the pastors. And I said, read the article. And what I said in the article was, we welcome the Jamaica Council of Churches saying that they are able to provide pastors to support, because that's great in the interim, but that cannot be the long-term solution. And my exact words were, it is a suboptimal solution because we're fundamentally not tackling the core issues, which is the profession is not attractive for so many of our children. And so when they leave secondary school, a lot of them are not finding their way into teacher training. And so, it is said that a country that does not value its teachers do not value its future.
Yeah.
If you, one of the things that you must notice about these subjects is these subjects tend to be writing subjects, and many of our children are not exposed to writing. And we need to develop these skills And these subjects are subjects that will help them to develop these skills. So I'm not knocking present day computer means and the apps and so on, but we still need to develop the writing skills. And that is what comes from the creativity of the students, which we need to develop. And sometimes we just push that aside to just memory and rote and that sort of area of learning. But I just want to say something about asking pastors to take these roles.
Okay.
The term of pastor, it is so broad these days, and we have people who call themselves pastors because they say they have been anointed by somebody in their church. And if that is the definition of a pastor, well, I would say no, no, no. Because we want people in the classroom with the pedagogical skills that are needed to teach our children, and not just people who are going in there to put in their brains some little opinions that they have. In my days when I went to school, it was Bible knowledge, but now we are teaching religious education. And that
Yes.
is what it ought to be. Religious education is not just about Christianity, but much broader than that. So I don't support this thing of putting pastors. If you have people who have gone through the training of, rigorous training in religious education, and we have many ministers who can do that, then yay. But not those people who are just appointed by somebody because they're an apostle or something like that, or they have been in a church for 6 months and they know the Bible and they get a gift or something. I'm not for those people.
Interesting. Okay. Dr. Smith, you had mentioned earlier about the viability as a concern, I guess financially. And so many persons have moved away from these subjects, plus the influence of parents. What do you say to those who say, boy, that's what it boils down to? Bread and butter issues. I mean, how many persons are going to be interested in learning about religious education in these days? What do you say to those individuals?
Well, there are other fields in which religious education, a good grasp of it, is of great value. Of course, if you're going into something related to religious studies, or if you are going to be doing sociology, you want to kind of understand the context of those things, it can be valuable as a subject to support other subjects. It wouldn't, in many cases, most people don't just do religious education primarily as the main subject, but it is it makes up the, say, 8, or for example, Monroe College, all boys are required to do 8 subjects. And so that means you're going to have to pick some subject which may not be your core focus, but you can still pick it up. And you also have to understand that school, as we presently practice it, is really about expanding the mind, widening their horizons, it's piquing what I call the sense of intellectual curiosity. And some of it will be in the humanities, and some of those areas will be in more science-based things. But it's very important that our children are exposed to a wide cross-section of knowledge. I want to pick up on something that was said earlier, that it's very important that we understand that we have to be careful about who we put for our children. It's very important that the individual comes with the requisite pedagogical skills, understanding the methodology. And I've stated this on a previous interview where I said, listen, at the end of the day, I have interviewed what I consider very articulate engineers that have come for a job at Monroe teaching, as for instance, say physics. But for them to break it down in its component parts and then have that dialogue and get a child to understand where that child is, what the domains of learning in terms of the child's learning style, and be able to apply that in a manner that the child is able to understand and to guide discussion. It's more than just disseminating information. And to be honest, too many in our society believe teaching is just coming and being a human. You're just giving them information. No, it's about facilitating learning, looking at a child's eye and understanding that they have a bit of self-doubt about this content, and will engage them on this aspect. You need to pull. It's really as much art as it is science, where it is that you find strong teachers. So it's very important.
Yes. Let me use that as a springboard as I ask you this question. Mrs. Cook, because isn't it a chicken and egg issue when you check it out? That some of the negative or negativity toward these subjects actually arise from how the subjects are taught. You know, I remember when I was in high school and doing RE, the teacher brought life to the subject in such a way that was one of our favorite subjects. Isn't that a factor that we need to examine?
That's a factor for every subject. The way it is introduced to them. However, in today's society, it's all about how much money you're going to earn. And then when your parents are telling you, no, that can't buy nothing, that can't earn you anything, when the society is telling you that that is not the way to go, all that will influence what you do. And many children coming up, all of them are different, and we cannot look at them as a group of children, but as individuals. And there are many students who want to do these things, but because of the pressure that is coming from all sides, they tend to just stop doing it. There are many children who want to do history, although they are good at mathematics and physics, but they're encouraged not to do it because they say, you are bright, you should be doing physics and maths and chemistry and so on. So
Right.
it is the parents, it is the school society, it is the influence from outside the school system.
Teachers,
As one of our pledge said that, and play your part in the whole human race. How am I going to play my part? And if we tell the children that this is the way to go, and then everybody's going for the sciences, I may think that I'm not bright if I'm going to do history or I'm going to do religious education. And these things, will take their toll on the students.
Yeah. Dr. Smith, I don't know if you want to say anything on that, but how do we then as a nation bell the cat, as it were, or address this concern in practical and permanent ways?
All right. Let me first of all say, I think that Ms. Cook said was spot on. You know, we have to be very mindful about this notion, that it's just about the sciences and it's just about money. I remember a few years ago, I was meeting with some of my parents as the kids were getting ready to go to sixth form, fifth form, and when I was asked, how many you want to be a doctor? The majority of the room had Monroe want to be a doctor in that particular. And I said, I was overwhelmed. And I said, why do you want to do medicine? And not one of those kids said to me, they want to do medicine because they want to help people. Everybody was saying, well, it pays well.
Money.
And you're going to see more of that happening because we live in a highly materialistic society. You find a diminishing number of students who really focus on, altruism. And we have a lot of them that do it. But what is a reality is that we become a lot more secular. A lot of the views that our children have, they get this from social media, which often is trying to show off who has the bigger car, who has most jewelry. And
what do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Yeah, subjects like history, like RE, helps to reconstruct that worldview to say that, human beings and our journey is a lot more than just material things, and challenge those outlooks on life. The question of what do we do? Well, it's already in the curriculum, but what we have to do is ensure that teaching as a whole is seen as a lot more viable profession. So I propose the idea of putting scholarships out there. A lot of the scholarships that exist now are primarily for STEM and STEAM-related subjects. I'm saying let's get some more of our subjects that we're having strategically. So we have to do a labor market survey of what's happening within the profession and assess and make some projections as to the shortages you're going to have. This is where strategic planning comes in.
Yes.
So the next 10 years based on the persons we have, and we have to now start to provide incentives. So you use scholarships, so we have incentivizing individuals to join.
If you notice that STEM came in as a corrective measure because so many people were doing the other subjects. So we have now gone to the other extreme.
We
so
need to
it is just the balance that we need.
We need to find a good acronym for this now.
Acronym.
Right. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Have a safe and productive day.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you too.
Great.
All the best.
Yeah, man. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information or get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-959627. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and our guest. I'm Dylan Toussaint, handing you back to Love in the Morning.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness works to ensure the provision of quality health services and promotes healthy lifestyles and environmental practices for all Jamaicans. The time by the Ministry of Health and Wellness is
8 a.m. You're now invited to